Vision, this is really happening.
Attention all agents, barrier ops, this is level 7. The first 2 episodes of WandaVision are on Disney+, and it's safe to say they are nothing like anything we've seen so far in the MCU. Directed by Matt Shakman, WandaVision is weird, cute, funny, black and white, and also a sitcom. But most importantly, it is packed with clues, info, and some pretty major connections to Captain Marvel, Spider-Man Far From Home, and, gasp, Marvel's X-Men. We'll get to all of that in just a second, but first, I have to warn you, we are going to jump into some pretty heavy MCU spoilers here, so if you don't want to hear them, now would be the time to make a polite exit until we're done here.
What a charming door knocker. Good night.
Now that we're past the spoiler warning, let's get right to it. No, this is not really happening. Or at least we don't think so. If the 1950s black and white TV look didn't immediately tip you off, WandaVision is set in some sort of alternate pocket of reality. Don't worry, all that sweet MCU backstory is still super important, and we'll explain that shortly, but first, a quick recap. Wanda and Vision live the idyllic 1950s TV sitcom lifestyle. It seems like the first 2 episodes are meant to feel a bit like Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie.
I understood that reference.
Doing great, Cap. Try to keep up, buddy. Anyway, Vision's a synthezoid and Wanda's a, well, Scarlet Witch. Whatever this premise actually is, it is a new tone for the MCU. Wherever Wanda and Vision actually are, they seem pretty happy. They're in love. They make oddly referential one-liner jokes that make you kinda sad.
My husband and his indestructible head.
Oh, too soon. Anyway, Wanda stays at home while Vision has a job at a computing company where he's already right at home because after all he is part computer. Vision's boss and his wife, Mr. and Mrs. Hart, are coming over for dinner while Wanda thinks it's her anniversary with Vision.
Wanda!
Vision?
What a classic screw-up. After a charmingly awkward evening, Mr. Hart chokes on his food and Vision saves the day by using his powers to reach directly into his throat. No harm, no foul. In fact, Vision even gets a promotion out of it.
Thank you, sir.
Wanda and Vision share a cute moment before the episode ends, the camera panning out of the TV, revealing a full-color shot of a bunch of modern production and surveillance gear. The big reveal here? The S.W.O.R.D. logo on this agent's notebook. This is a reference to S.W.O.R.D., or the Sentient World Observation and Response Department. Kind of like S.H.I.E.L.D., S.W.O.R.D. is another big top-secret organization concerned with superhero shenanigans. We'll have more on them in a second, but first, let's keep recapping. In episode 2, we're still in black and white. Wanda and Vision are practicing a magic act for the local talent show before Vision heads off to a neighborhood watch meeting. Wanda seems a little shocked when she finds this toy helicopter in full sparkling Technicolor, and there's that S.W.O.R.D. logo again. Wanda doesn't have time to think about it too much. She's off to plan the talent show with the adult version of Mean Girls. She meets one of the ladies, Geraldine, which isn't her real name. That's Monica Rambeau, and she's a direct connection to Captain Marvel 2. We did a whole Canon Fodder video explaining her backstory. We'll link you to that at the end, but first... Anyway, Vision's neighborhood watch meeting is pretty uneventful, except he swallows his stick of big red gum, which is something you should never do, especially if you're a synthezoid, because it gums up the works and makes you act really drunk, apparently.
Oh.
Time for the magic show, which goes pretty well considering Vision's all messed up on gum, and Wanda just kind of wings it the whole time using her powers.
What's in the box? What's in the box?
What's in the box?
No, it's not the head of Pepper Potts, it's Monica/Geraldine. Wanda and Viz win the talent show, and on the way home, he asks her a very sobering question.
What is that?
But before she can answer, a frickin' beekeeper just randomly pops out of a sewer manhole, and would you look at that, he's sporting the S.W.O.R.D. logo. This all seems kind of sinister until Wanda just says,
No.
This time, the scene plays a little differently, and guess what? Wanda's pregnant! And if you've read Marvel's House of M, you know that's probably a bad thing. We'll have more on that next week. For now, Wanda seems to have rewind powers in this weird alt-reality, and more than that, color spreads over Vision's face and the rest of the world. The episode ends with this strange communique.
Wanda. Who's doing the C, Wanda? Wanda.
Okay, so back to S.W.O.R.D. Lots of obvious visual callouts to this agency. Here are the broad strokes. S.W.O.R.D. is basically like S.H.I.E.L.D. except for cosmic threats. The agency first appeared in Marvel's Astonishing X-Men back in 2004, but there's a better than strong chance that S.W.O.R.D. has already appeared in the MCU.
Everybody back to work!
The last time we saw Nick Fury, he was wandering shoeless through a space station under construction, seemingly crewed by a bunch of Skrulls. Lots of fans believe this scene is setting up S.W.O.R.D., though that hasn't been explicitly confirmed yet. This space station could very well be the Peak, S.W.O.R.D's orbital space station and base of operations. After the events of the MCU phases 1 to 3, it looks like Nick Fury is casting his eyes to the heavens looking for Earth's next big threat. And though S.W.O.R.D exists to protect Earth from otherworldly threats, like I said earlier, the agency first appeared in the pages of X-Men comics, and most of the early S.W.O.R.D stories are X-Men stories. But this S.W.O.R.D story could very well be an X-Men story too. Just like S.W.O.R.D, Wanda Maximoff made her debut in the pages of X-Men as an evil mutant before becoming an Avenger later on, and for 50 years she was the daughter of Magneto, though that got retconned in the 2014 Axis comic event. Anyway, ever since Disney acquired all of the X-Men characters in the big Fox merger, fans have wondered when and how the X-Men characters could eventually proliferate the MCU. With the assembled players involved so far, WandaVision seems built for that task.
Wanda. Who's doing the scene, Wanda?
That's a valid question considering the weirdness of WandaVision's premise. Here's our best guess. Wanda is doing this to Wanda. She has the power to rewind scenes and try them again if she sees something she doesn't like. She could be using her powers to create this strange reality, a power the Scarlet Witch displays in Marvel's House of M, but why would she be doing this?
You took everything from me.
I don't even know who you are.
Our guess is that Wanda has created this simulation as a way to cope with having her life and future ripped away when Thanos ripped the Mind Stone out of Vision's head. Entering the MCU's Phase 4, Wanda has no family, no Avengers, and the love of her life has been, well, bricked. Another possibility is S.W.O.R.D. WandaVision has deliberately shown us that they're involved. Could they be responsible for the simulation Wanda and Viz are living in? It's possible. In House of M, both the Avengers and the X-Men discuss some pretty dark options for curbing Wanda's unpredictable power. It's possible that S.W.O.R.D has her imprisoned here to protect everyone else from her grief. But S.W.O.R.D seems to be observing here, trying to understand this weird reality right along with us, and she doesn't seem to want them there.
No.
Try our new and improved Toastmate 2000. It's the go-to for clever housewives.
Real quick, let's run down the Easter eggs we found in the first 2 episodes of WandaVision. As we mentioned before, the S.W.O.R.D logo pops up more than once. In episode 1, we see the notebook with the S.W.O.R.D logo on it, and then in episode 2, we get the manhole beekeeper wearing it, plus the Technicolor helicopter that Wanda finds in the bush. And thanks to closed captioning, we actually know whose voice that was over the radio. That's Randall Park's Jimmy Woo, the former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent turned FBI Scott Lang Wrangler. So who is he working for here? We're gonna guess he got sick of getting screwed over by Scott, and he works for S.W.O.R.D now. Episodes 1 and 2 also feature some fun fake commercials that both seem to reference Wanda's origin story. The Stark-powered toaster references Wanda and her brother Pietro's horrific childhood in Sokovia, and then there's the watch commercial. It's a Strucker. Also a Strucker? This guy, who you might recall unlocked Wanda and Pietro's powers using Loki's scepter.
You didn't see that coming?
But what do you think? What is WandaVision? Where are they and who put them there? Let's argue about it in the comments. Anyway, thank you for watching this week's episode of Canon Fodder. For more on WandaVision, be sure to check out our video on how Monica Rambeau directly connects Captain Marvel 2 to WandaVision, and be sure to follow and subscribe to IGN wherever you like to watch. Excelsior, true believers. We'll see you next time.
Wanda. Who's doing the scene, Wanda?